welcome to the Be Mobile Show on this December the 4th.
It is indeed.
It's Brodie and Ollie, and today we are discussing one of the most crucial questions, I think, when it comes to resistance training and building strength, and that is, when should you increase the weight that you're lifting? Because we're all eager to get stronger, but it's not a really clear-cut answer a lot of the time. It's a little bit more nuanced. So today we're going to dive into that question and discuss, when you should be increasing weight.
Some of the considerations, some of the things you should be thinking about. Ollie, I tried a kangaroo-flavoured beer on the weekend.
A kangaroo-flavoured beer?
Yeah, you could really taste the hops.
Oh. Must have been a hobby beer.
I like hobby beers, it is true.
Yeah, plenty of botanicals, they call it. Yeah, okay. All right, well, perhaps you can try a kangaroo-flavoured beer if you can find one.
I don't think that would be very good, would it?
No, certainly wouldn't be vegetarian.
No.
Okay, so we do get a lot of questions around this topic. When can you increase, when should I increase the weights? We have people ask things like, well, I can go up in weights, but I can't keep the same number of reps. I have to drop the reps, or I can go up in weight, but then the exercise doesn't look the same. My technique changes a little bit. For example, when I'm doing the deadlift, my back bends a little bit, or if I'm squatting, then my knees come in together a little bit, things like that. Or sometimes people ask, well, I can go up in weight, but it hurts me. Should I just push through? These are the sorts of questions we get.
So in order to answer this and sort through some of these questions, first we need to just be clear about why do we talk about going up in weight in the first place? Why does it matter? Why don't you just lift the same weight all the time? Ollie, to understand that, we want to use the stress recovery adaptation model, which is just a nice model, a nice way of thinking about this. So we've got that up on screen now.
Perfect.
You can see we are starting on the left side of the graph, and the red line is indicating your ability, your performance.
Yeah, I've cropped that picture too closely.
Yeah.
On that y-axis, it should say performance. So basically, if we look at strength training, for example, how much weight you can lift on a given day. Yeah. Okay, so if we start on that left-hand side, right next to those two good-looking fellas over there, that's the baseline, right?
Yep.
Now, that first stress arrow is indicating a workout, let's say. So after that session, we're fatigued. Okay, we've stressed our muscles, we've stressed other parts of our body. And if we were to try and do a workout straight away again, we wouldn't be able to repeat that performance because of that fatigue. Now, given enough time and resources for recovery, protein, sleep, all the good things, our body's going to adapt. Now, the reason it does that, our body likes to stay in a comfort zone, okay? So whenever we stress it, the body thinks, gee, I'm gonna have to do that again in the future, and I don't want to feel so stressed doing it. I want to stay in a comfort zone. So I'm going to get stronger so that the next time I lift those weights, it feels a bit easier. So that's where we get this adaptation, that red word up there and their little arrow. So we get to this new ability level, right? Now, over time, the aim is, of course, to follow the trend of that graph, applying more stress and recovering and getting stronger over time. But Brodie, what's going to happen if I train and I get stronger for a month and I go back and I do the same workout that I started with the very first day?
It's going to feel quite easy.
Yeah.
It's going to not stress your body as much. It's not going to apply as much stress to the system. Therefore, it's not going to force that recovery and adaptation response, is it? So it's not going to do much good for you, that workout, if it's not challenging you enough.
That's right. So hopefully that graph and that little explanation there is making it clear that over time, you need to gradually increase the stress that you're putting on your body as you get stronger. Now, it'd be really nice if you could just follow some sort of simple process, like every workout, add 10% of the same weight, and you would just get stronger and stronger and stronger infinitely, on and on and on.
Yeah. Sounds nice.
Yeah, it's not that crystal clear.
Yeah, because that model, that graph is showing an idealized, hypothetical situation. It's not like doing one workout truly makes you much stronger, does it? If I just do one workout and then don't do it again for 6 months, I'm not any stronger.
No.
So it takes those repeated stresses, and there's so much variation in life and in performance and in all sorts of things. I mean, you're not going to get a clean recovery adaptation that's beneficial every single time, which is why part of why exercise is a long game, right? It's about building those habits longer term.
Yeah, that's right. Now, interesting that you mention those factors that can change our performance, because this happens on a daily basis and leads me into my solution. My solution, I'm claiming it.
Yeah.
It's a scientific solution.
You've invented this.
I've stolen this idea. To answer this question, when should you increase the weight? And the answer is autoregulation, which is a fancy word for basically adjusting what you're doing based on how you're feeling on a given day.
Yep.
So, for example, if you're doing a workout and the weight's feeling a lot heavier than it normally would, the stress is maybe a little bit too high for you on that day. Maybe you're feeling tired, you're feeling a lack of sleep. Well, tired and lack of sleep, probably the same thing. Stressed, maybe there's other factors that you're not aware of that are causing you to be weaker on that day. So you need to adjust that by reducing the weight on a given day. And similarly, if there's a day where you're feeling really good and the weights are feeling light, well, your performance is going to be up on that day, and you can increase the weight a little bit for that day.
Yeah, and when it comes to this, mostly, Ollie, near enough is good enough in terms of you don't need to be making micro adjustments, changing your weight by little percentages, half a kilo every single workout. It's not like every day you go in the gym, you have to be like, doing calculations and precisely working out exactly how good you feel that day and stuff. But it's just more of a general guide, and it just shows you that things can vary and change a little bit just based on how you're feeling. And often you just start the workout and you'll know right away if you're feeling up to it, or you need to back things off a little bit, or if you feel like you can push a little bit harder. Yeah,
and sometimes people get worried if they do a workout and they're not able to lift the weights that they're used to lifting, and they think, oh God, I'm getting weaker. Well, you're not getting weaker because as Brody said, it's just one day. It might be just one bad day. As long as that trend over time is gradually going up, then that's what we want to see. You don't have to stress about one session where you're feeling a bit weaker.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think a good takeaway, each workout, if you're leaving 2 or 3 reps in the tank, all right, that's going to be a good sign that it's challenging. So at the end of a set of 10 reps on the deadlift, if you feel like you could have done 12 or 13 reps, that's going to be a good level of challenge. If you feel like you could have done another 10, 15 reps easily, then it's probably not challenging enough for you. And equally, if you're getting to the end of the set and you just feel like you're about to collapse, you couldn't do another single rep, probably too challenging for you. If you just aim for that, I think you're going to get good bang for buck from your workouts.
And to be clear, you leave those 2 to 3 reps in the tank. You don't then do them. So you get to your 10th deadlift, you think, I could probably just do 2 or 3 more. You don't do that 2 or 3 more, but you just know that that 10 was about the right level of challenge.
Yeah, 100%.
In terms of weights changing and things with time, I think one thing this discussion brings up is just how your body changes with time in terms of how it responds to the stress of exercise. There's something which we call like beginner gains or newbie gains, which means when you start out doing some resistance training, applies to other forms of exercise too, you often make a lot of gains really quickly in the first few weeks. Your body adapts very quickly. So if you never do any sort of overhead pressing exercise and you start in week 1, you do 1 kilo dumbbells, you might go 1.5 kilos the next week, 2 kilos the next week, 2.5, 3. Pretty much every week or most sessions you'll probably be able to gain a little bit. That peters off, that sort of tapers out after a while, after a number of weeks or a couple of months. If you're consistently doing that exercise for 6 months, you're barely going to be changing the weight much week on week, right? You might do 3-4 weeks at the same weight before you can make a little jump. So lots of improvement quickly. Often the weights go up. You can go up quite quickly in the first few weeks. And then the more you lift, the more experienced you are with strength training, you gain less and less with time.
Yeah, it's that law of diminishing returns, isn't it? You get those rapid gains and then it sort of peters off. But you're still really benefiting from that, even if you're not increasing the weights. Not just for your strength in this scenario that we're talking about, but also all the health benefits of exercise. So we'd encourage you to persist. And doing your workouts is the number one thing. Just showing up is far more important than the particulars of the amount of weight you're lifting. Getting in and doing a session, hopefully it's moderately challenging, But as long as you're doing something, that's the crux of it, I think.
Yeah, and so the great thing is the benefits of strength training go far beyond just getting stronger. You don't need to be getting stronger to get the benefits. As Ollie was just saying, it's just the doing it that really gives you the benefit. So if you've been with B Mobile, some of you have for 3-4 years, and you've been pretty consistent most of that time with resistance training at least twice a week. You've probably been deadlifting a similar weight for weeks, months even. It might not have gone up that much lately, and that's totally fine and perfectly normal. As long as you keep pushing to make sure every workout is challenging. And if you haven't tried to up the weights for a while, give it a go, see how you feel. Often people will surprise themselves with how much they can do. We see that a lot with people that come to our gym, don't we? That we go, well, why don't you try going up to 25 kilo deadlift this week?
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't do that. And then you do it and they absolutely smash it. And you go,
Yeah.
see, you had it in you all along. So especially if you've been doing it a while, yeah, give it a go, challenge yourself. Go, maybe I could be pushing a little bit harder.
Yeah, I'm paraphrasing an interesting study, Brody, where they looked at gym goers and basically asked them how close to muscular failure they were getting on a particular exercise, the bench press. And a lot of them said, well, they were very close. But when they actually took those people and you pretty much forced them to just go to as many as they could do, they were leaving way more reps in the tank than they thought they were when they were going into the gym. So yeah, as Brody said, I think maybe test yourself a little bit every now and then, see if you can push yourself a little bit further, see how you go.
Lovely.
So if you've got any questions, maybe you've got a particular scenario that we haven't been really clear on around when to increase the weights you're lifting or a different form of exercise, maybe when to up the level of your cardiovascular workouts or something, drop it in the comments and we can get to that.
But very nice.
That education segment leads well into a question from one of our members, Anita, who posted in our private community. She said she's a bit disappointed that her DEXA scan has shown a reduction in bone mineral density.
Yeah.
I guess I need to increase my weights. So first of all, Brody, can we clarify a DEXA scan for everyone who doesn't know?
Yeah, dual energy X-ray absorptiometry. I can never get that last one.
Close enough.
It's the way it absorbs. Absorptiometry. It's how we measure bone density clinically. Type of scan tells you your bone density. Often with osteoporosis, they're looking particularly at the hip, the neck of the femur and the hip and the lower back, but they'll look at other areas too as well when relevant. If someone has osteoporosis or osteopenia, that's low bone density relative to an ideal, how their bone density would have ideally been at around age 30, which is peak bone density for most people. So looking at that, when someone's in that low range or their bone density is declining, they might get diagnosed with osteopenia or osteoporosis, and various strategies may be implemented to try and remedy that, to try and halt that decline completely. Gain bone density, great. But that's sort of the important thing with this. So some of those strategies are going to be resistance training, potentially medications which address how much density, bone minerals your body is laying down versus absorbing, potentially dietary changes including protein and ensuring calcium and vitamin D. So those are the few of the levers we can pull to address someone's bone density. But for someone like Anita, whose bone density is still going down, what could we say to that? Firstly, that doesn't mean what you're doing is not working, because we don't know, if you hadn't been doing any of this stuff, your bone density might have dropped a lot more rapidly. So instead of being like this, you might be like this. Obviously, it can be disappointing that it's still declining, and I can totally understand that point of view, but it doesn't mean you aren't much better off than where you would have been if you hadn't been doing this stuff in the first place. So that's the first point to note.
Firstly, so that's the first one. The second point is that you've got to consider all the other amazing benefits that you're getting from doing the resistance training. So decreased bone density primarily is only an issue if you have a fracture. Lots of people with reduced bone density, perfectly healthy, don't know about it until they have a fracture. Now, when you're exercising, balance training, resistance training, forms of cardiovascular training where you're challenging your balance, all those things are increasing your balance and reducing your falls risk. So that's a really important thing to remember here. You're reducing your falls risk. And I would argue, without much science to support it, but generally making your body more robust and resilient to stresses. So don't forget that. Try and, the old saying with the donut, don't focus on the hole, focus on the outside of the donut, because you're getting lots of good benefits from what you're doing.
Yeah, so understandably some disappointment, but as we said, try and look at the positive that you're doing a lot of the right things. If there are things you could be addressing more, then that's a discussion to have with your doctor, whether it is medications, dietary, potentially doing more exercise and doing more intense exercise, maybe that could help. But yeah, there's a lot of other factors to address. There's hormonal things to address as well. So there's lots of other avenues of things that could be helping in this scenario. So speak to your doctor, explore all of those avenues. But as we said, just the bone density declining itself might not be so bad if you're still in a good range and all that sort of stuff.
And also, just based on this discussion today, maybe you want to test yourself and see if you are getting to those levels of challenge with your resistance training where you're lifting heavy weights and leaving a couple of reps in the tank. That's probably a good sign that you're pushing your muscles and your skeleton to a good level.
Okay. Good.
Great.
We hope that helps, Anita, and anyone else who had questions about bone density.
Well,
do we have any comments popping up? Asking anything
not
specific?
at this stage, but we will keep an eye out for those. We had a lovely post in the group from one of our members, Keith, who's just finished his 8-week program. And Keith, even just after the short period of 8 weeks, has noticed some really big improvements in his capacity.
Yep.
In particular, I note Keith's, he noticed he's able to carry a 23 kilo bag of cat litter from the car and take it to the basement. And he says before the program, he couldn't even lift that off the floor. So I think it's those small little improvements that, when you add those up, they make a big difference to your life. And that's just after 8 weeks of resistance training. So
and that's great. And Keith says he admits that he had some reservations to start with. And he also noted, as well as being stronger, I do feel better overall as well, which is really nice to see. So thanks for sharing that, Keith, and that's awesome. And we're so pleased you decided to keep going with us with the membership, and you're getting stuck into membership program 1 all the way.
Yeah, awesome work, Keith. Liza says, hello from Australia. Well, hello from Australia right back at you, Liza. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. Hopefully you've taken something from the show, and if you have any questions or comments, pop them in. Perhaps a suggestion for a show that we can do in the new year. We are rapidly approaching the business end of the year. And we're looking forward to sharing some new insights with you next year as well.
We'll just keep talking your ears off about stuff we find interesting. But if you have something that you want to know about, do let us know, because we are happy to cater to that as well.
Yes, 100%. And if you've got a joke, as you can see, the quality continues to decline.
We're in desperate need.
Oh, we are in desperate need of a joke. We're not particularly funny, so please let us know.
We laugh at each other a lot.
Yes, yep, and hopefully you can have a laugh at us as well. We don't mind because we can't see you because we're just looking at a camera. All right, hello Pam, thank you for joining us as well.
I think that'll do it for today.
Yeah, beautiful, nice short one. Well, we hope to see you next Wednesday.
Oh yeah, we'll be here, don't you worry about that.
Well, yeah, see you then.
Bye for now.